What up? It's your boy Wall Street, and I'm back on the mic, ready to talk to all of you people. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it greatly. And we got some breaking news that is not really that breaking because we all saw this coming. But the Phoenix Suns and Bradley Beal have agreed to a contract buyout. And Bradley Beal will now sign a 2-year, $11 million deal with the Los Angeles Clippers. That includes a player option in the second season. So the infamous no-trade clause contract that Bradley Beal had now comes to an end, I would imagine, because he is now signing a new deal with the LA Clippers. So there was a lot of speculation. Is he going to go to the Lakers? Is he going to go to the Clippers? Is he going to go to the Bucks? I kind of felt like he was probably going to go to the Clippers. I think that's where he has the least amount of expectations and also can be in LA without, the expectations of being on a roster with Luka Doncic and LeBron James. Because as much as I do like Bradley Beal and I appreciate what he did for the Wizards organization, this dude is not as good as the stats read, in my opinion, right? He is not a guy that will lead your team. He's not a guy that is going to, be the primary ball handler on your team. He's a guy that can hit spot up shots at a very high efficiency. He can, have a, 1-2 dribble pull up, but he's not a guy like Kyrie Irving that's going to just manipulate the defense however he wants, right? He kind of needs a guard that's going to be able to control the ball for him and allow him to get open in his spots and then dish him the ball when he's ready. I think playing with James Harden will be good for Bradley Beal, but the defense that this backcourt is going to play is going to be horrendous. Absolutely horrible. John Collins is going to need to be recording several blocks a game. Avicii Zubac is going to need to be recording several blocks a game because there are going to be people blowing by Bradley Beal and James Harden on the perimeter, right? Because both of them, I think, were decent defenders in their heyday, but that's not now. They are not defending at all, in my opinion, right? So I just don't really think this moves the needle all that much for the Clippers. Yes, it gives them another offensive option. Bradley Beal is still a very good player. He's not some scrub, but he's not an all-star level player anymore, at least in the Western Conference, and that's my honest opinion. He was on the Suns for 2 years. They got swept in the 23-24 season playoffs by the Minnesota Timberwolves. They didn't even make the playoffs last season. They went 36-46 in the regular season. And, not to say that it's going to be a similar situation with the Clippers, but I don't think this makes them a championship team. I like the other additions they've made too. They added Brook Lopez. They got John Collins. They did get rid of Norman Powell, but, obviously now bringing in Bradley Beal, he's going to absorb a lot of Norman Powell's minutes. So I just feel like it's a slightly, positive offseason for them. I do like John Collins and Brook Lopez, but I think swapping out Bradley Beal for Norman Powell is kind of a net loss, in my opinion, right? Because I think Norman Powell was playing better than Bradley Beal was last year in Phoenix, right? And Norman Powell was more of the second option for a lot of the season because Kawhi wasn't super healthy, but, who knows, right? I might be proven totally wrong. Bradley Beal might come out and average 25 points per game. Who knows? But I think this doesn't improve you defensively as a team for the Clippers. And again, it's just, is he going to be able to hit shots? Is he still going to be that talent that we saw in his last few years in DC? I don't think so. And again, I think the stats made him look better than he was. Bradley Beal averaging 30 points a game, for multiple seasons, I believe, is, that to me is not realistic of what his actual ability is, right? In the 2019-20 season, he averaged 30.5. In the 2020-21 season, averaged 31.3. So, he's not a bad player. He's just those years in DC, it was basically a rebuilding team that still had Bradley Beal because of that no trade clause. So you couldn't really do anything. You kind of just had to let him play it out. And like Tommy Shepard, who was the GM at the time, had absolutely no clue what he was doing at all. So they just let him score as many points as possible. And they were like, maybe this will raise his trade value. Can't even talk. And to some extent it did. Like, I still think the Wizards got a pretty decent haul for, what we traded Bradley Beal to the Suns for. And, that's just, it is what it is, right? But do I think this is going to help the Clippers? Maybe. Do I think it's going to help them enough to win a championship? Probably not. So that's really all it is, guys. Bradley Beal going to the Los Angeles Clippers, leaving the Phoenix Suns. I also believe he's losing about, I think, like $14 million out of his remaining 19 or 115 that he had remaining. And everyone's like, oh, he's giving up so much money. I'm like, he's already making plenty of money. And he's averaging 17 points per game. That does not deserve $50 million a year in the NBA anymore. So that's just my opinion. It is what it is. I think this helps the Suns a lot, though. I do think now they've gotten over this hump of Bradley Beal's no longer on this team. We're not burdened by this no trade clause player that's not, really yielding a lot of trade value. And, now Jalen Green's going to slot into that, shooting guard spot or maybe the point guard spot. You have Dylan Brooks. I like how they got Kaman Maluak in the draft by trading Kevin Durant, basically. And now it's back to being Devin Booker's team. And I think that's how the Suns should be. I think a lot of people forget how good the Suns were when Devin Booker was the leader of that team, right? You had Chris Paul, which, you still need a point guard. Maybe Chris Paul will come back to the Suns, Who knows? He's still waiting on making his decision. But I just think this team is better off with Devin Booker as the main star and having a bunch of other pieces around him to complement it, as opposed to having this team of Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, and having this big three stuff. This big three era is over, in my opinion. And everyone's saying, oh, this is the Clippers' new big three with Bradley Beal, James Harden, and Kawhi Leonard. Stop it. Shut the up. This is stop trying to push this narrative that Bradley Beal is this big three superstar and that James Harden and Kawhi Leonard are these superstars. They lost in the first round of the playoffs, right? And this has happened multiple times. So we're not going to continue to go down this road. Like I said, I don't think this is going to yield the Clippers a championship. Maybe it gives them more pieces to eventually put in a trade. I don't know. But it seems like the LA Clippers are becoming a team where older superstars and stars and all-star level players go once they're ready to kind of play out their twilight years in the NBA. That's starting to be what it's looking like, but who knows? So if you're a Clippers fan, if you're a Suns fan, please leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think about this buyout/signing. Want to know your thoughts? That's all I got, guys. I'm going to check you later. Stay up, stay blessed, stay safe, stay humble, handle business, stand on business. Peace out.